Today we're making seared scallops with champagne cream sauce. Restaurant level, but approachable enough to nail at home. We've got a golden crust on the scallops, a silky sauce with Dijon, miso, lemon, and herbs. This is pure date night energy with minimal effort, which I guess kind of describes dating in general these days. So stick around and learn yourself something good. Poor choices, y'all. Starting out, we have got some U15 scallops, and all that means is that there are about 15 or fewer scallops per pound, so they're nice and meaty. If you try to go smaller than this, you'll increase your risk of overcooking your scallops, making you extremely sad, and we all know that thug tears are flammable. By the way, I almost forgot, we need to check for the abductor muscle on these scallops. That's this small, tough strip on the side of the scallop. It peels off really easily with your fingers, so give all your scallops a check and make sure that you got them all removed. You do not want that chewy bite in your final dish. Pat them bone dry with some paper towels, and I'm really emphasizing dry. Dry scallops are happy scallops. That's how you get that good crust. So after I did pat them dry, I just let them hang out under the towel for about an extra 10 minutes. Once that time has passed, we're going to season them generously with some kosher salt. Under-seasoned scallops are just as unpleasant as over-seasoned scallops. And so this is where using kosher salt has its advantage, because you can get a better visual of just how much salt you are using. As for pepper, we're going to save that for later in the sauce. That way we don't risk burning the pepper. Next up, we're going to heat a stainless or cast iron pan over medium-high and just let it preheat for a solid 5 minutes. We don't want to add our oil and scallops too soon and lose out on that wonderful sear. After a couple minutes, we want to add a splash of neutral oil. You can use grapeseed oil, avocado oil, canola oil, whatever you got that won't smoke too quick. And allow that to heat up for about 30 seconds or until it's shimmering and maybe just beginning to smoke. When it is shimmering, we're going to lay the scallops down flat side first. And of course, if you look at the scallops, you'll obviously be like, John, both sides are flat, but one side has slightly more surface area than the other, and that's the side I'm calling flat. And I like to start at the 12 o'clock position and work my way clockwise around the pan. That way I know the exact order I laid them down, which helps when it's time to flip. I just flip them back over in that same order. And also I keep my scallops around the outer edge of the pan, since that's where the heat runs more evenly on my stove. And that's just me knowing my gear. You can stick to the center if your pan heats more consistently. So get that down into your pan, don't crowd them, and don't touch them at all. Let them sear for 2.5 to 3 minutes until they're deep and golden. And then we're going to flip them, and this is where we drop in a knob of butter. The pan's cooled a little bit, scallops are halfway done, so the butter just foams and turns nutty instead of burning. Some people would put the butter in the same time they put the scallops in, but I just really want to reduce the risk of you messing these up. They're still going to have some delicious buttery flavor. And if you want, you can tilt that pan and spoon the foamy butter all over the scallops for about a minute. It's really only going to take the second side about 2 minutes to really get done. And then we're just going to pull them off when the second side is golden and the centers are just opaque, about 115 to 120 degrees inside if you're using a food thermometer. And don't poo-poo on the folks who want to use a food thermometer. Being able to consistently nail a doneness by using one is so amazing. So use the tools if you got them. Get them out of the pan and rest them on a warm plate under some foil. And then we're going to turn the heat down to medium. We're going to add a little bit of butter in if that pan looks dry. I didn't need it, but I wanted to add more butter anyways. And then we're going to toss in some minced up shallots. Get them nice and fine. We don't want anything chunky in our sauce. And just let them soften and pick up that butter flavor. Now for my favorite part. We're going to pour in that champagne. Definitely aim for a dry champagne like a brut. I'm using this $15 bottle of Chandon because it's one of my favorites, but definitely avoid anything sweet like Andres. And make sure you scrape that fond. That's those little bits stuck to the bottom of the pan as extra flavor. And then just reduce the champagne by half. Once that's done, we're going to add in some chicken stock. And by the way, all the measurements are down in the description. This is one of those fun sauces where you can really play around with how much of each ingredient you want based on what you like to taste, and you'll still probably get a great sauce. Pour in some heavy cream and let it simmer gently for about 5 to 6 minutes. You're looking for it to coat the back of a spoon. Thick enough to cling, but loose enough to drizzle. And then we just whisk in some Dijon mustard and white miso paste for that savory depth. And of course, we have to give it a taste. It's probably gonna need some more salt. So give it some salty love and freshly ground pepper here. And then taste again. We're not gonna stop adjusting this sauce until we say, wow, that's delicious. And you'd be surprised how an extra pinch of salt goes a long way in making flavors pop. Finally, when you're satisfied with the taste, we're gonna kill the heat and then stir in some fresh chopped up tarragon leaves, some fresh chopped up chives, and squeeze in half the juice of a lemon right into the sauce. Now for the payoff, we're going to spoon the silky pool of champagne cream sauce right onto a plate. Then we're going to nestle the scallops right on top, drizzle with a little bit more sauce if you want to, garnish with some herbs, some microgreens, maybe even a lemon wedge for color, and that's it. Golden seared scallops with champagne cream sauce, clean flavors, restaurant presentation, but something you can totally pull off in your own kitchen. And of course, my poor choice tonight was Chandon Brut, because if you're going to cook with bubbles, you might as well sip some too. And hey everybody, this is Poor Choices Kitchen. If you want to support the channel, join the Patreon, link down in the description, or grab a YouTube membership. Both help keep these recipes coming and the kitchen lights on. So thank you for watching, and until next time, make it delicious and also make it a poor choice.